Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Iron Port. It is proudly brought to you by Goyle Company Limited, also the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and Serene Insurance. The media partner is the Business and Financial Times. If you tune into the GH1 tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. you should watch a bridge version of the program on that particular platform. On Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. and a bridge version will be aired there as well. And then the Thursday edition of the Business and Financial Times, you read a lot more about what will transpire on this platform, together with the schedules of the vessels that are bringing your goods and cargo into this country. So make it in and get a copy of the Business and Financial Times and read a lot more about what is happening within the port and maritime industry as well as the business industry. Quite a number of other media platforms, the Ghana Web and so on, continue to fly most of the information. Make time and read a lot about the maritime industry. Today we're going to talk about promoting trade beyond the individual countries, say Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and the smaller regions, let's say the Volta region, let's say the Eastern region, the Ashanti regions, whatever we are cultivating, whatever we are harnessing as resources from these areas, how do we get them beyond Kumasi? How do we get them beyond Keta? How do we get them beyond Ho, for instance, and get into the continental market, which is what everybody is trying to do. And once those of us at the port, our interest is to see a lot of goods exported, a lot of business thriving, for everybody also to be happy in the system. This is what we want to talk about and see how best we can drive this particular agenda. And we have a man who is passionate about that, a man who talks a lot about growing this continent beyond individual countries, beyond regions, beyond small towns, into that continental platform. And we'll be hearing and taking a lot of insight from him because he's got enormous experience, and I was thrilled to hear him speak in Keta in the course of the week. We'll be getting that insight from him pretty shortly. In the meantime, a number of things have happened within the port and maritime industry. Remembrance Day was held. Listen to that and we'll be back shortly.
Security agencies operating in the port of Tema Enclave have held a parade to mark the Remembrance Day on 11th November 2020. The Remembrance Day is set aside globally by Commonwealth states to commemorate fallen soldiers who have died in the line of duty since the First World War. This occasion has also been adopted by various security agencies within and around Ghana's port enclave to remember and recognize past security personnel and staff of the various security organizations who have died while performing their duties. Participating institutions in the memorial parade included the Ghana Ports and Harbours Security Department, Fire and Safety Department, the Ghana Navy, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Ghana Immigration Service. The solemn ceremony also saw key members of the various institutions in the port, such as National Security, the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Marine Police Department of the Ghana Police Service, Ghana Shippers Authority, the Joint Association of Ports Transport Union, among others. Present at the ceremony was the Director General of GPHA, Michael Luguje, the Director of Tema Port, Sandra Opoku, and the Director of the Port of Keta, Dr. Alexandra Dusay. The Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Luguje, urged the staff and officers to draw inspiration from the memorial to foster harmony and determination to leave a lasting positive impact in their various institutions towards a better Ghana.
As a corporate entity, we are confronted by a number of vices that negatively affect our performance and productivity. One sure way of making the sacrifices of our heroes meaningful is to endear ourselves to work together to achieve the mission of the organization.
The Tema Port Security Manager, Colonel William Kwabia, expressed gratitude to all security personnel who risk their lives within the port community to protect the nation's interest.
Together with colleagues, friends, neighbors, veterans, groups, and entire communities, we can ensure that the sacrifices made by our fallen heroes never go unappreciated and that their memories are never forgotten.
We'll return pretty shortly after the break.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
Sa coronavirus yare no yare a sign pa. So obinya bi na se opo wagu so ana se obinti gu so a utumenya yare ni bi.
Okadi ni bahani onaka oyehila ekoji. Ohe banye do. Oba wulo. Ogo bahunu. Oba chine. O jamba wohe. Oba na sen kaka. Mekme musunchon. Mekme nuni enihi.
Coronavirus infection, the symptoms can range from mild, one of it being asymptomatic. Asymptomatic just means that you may not have any symptoms at all, and the disease process can gradually worsen to be a severe form, the severest being ultimately death.
We are expected to sanitize our hands when our hands are not visibly soiled or you can't really see dirt on your hands. If you can see dirt on your hands, the best thing to do is to wash your hands with soap and the running water.
If you're using any of the cloth face masks, always make sure you have a rubber bag ready to receive it when you remove it, or you have a bowl of warm soapy water in which you can place the mask and wash. Wash your mask, dry in the hot sun for at least 5 hours, and apply heat by way of ironing.
Utiliser les ports de Tema et de Takoradi, c'est avoir un traitement rapide et sécurisé de vos marchandises diverses en conteneurs, en sac ou en vrac, ainsi que tous vos véhicules en transit. Le Ghana a construit un parking bien pavé pour tous les véhicules en transit. Une nouvelle gare frigorifique pour le stockage de la marchandise congelée en transit. Avec un nouveau centre de traitement de données construit et la mise en œuvre efficace d'un guichet unique national qui permet aux données d'être accessibles par tous les intervenants, le traitement des dossiers dans les ports du Ghana est maintenant efficace et plus efficient. Utiliser les ports du Ghana, c'est profiter des systèmes de portes électroniques et d'exploitation des terminaux, ainsi que de la réservation des navires en ligne, entraînant ainsi un parc de camions fiable pour un acheminement de vos marchandises dans les brefs délais avec un suivi satellitaire jusqu'à nos frontières.
Les femmes, à vous les honneurs.
Les ports de Tema et de Takoradi célèbrent la femme. Que les bienfaits de cette célébration apportent plus de bénédictions.
Welcome back from the break. So my guest in the studio is His Excellency Eliphas Mugengi Barine. He's a Kenya's High Commissioner to this country, Ghana. And over the weekend, or over in the course of last week, he got another name. I'm going to have him mention it himself because I'm sure by now he remembers his new name that the country or the Volta region, the people of the Volta region have given to him. So once again, His Excellency Eliphas Mugengi Barine as Kenya's High Commissioner to Ghana and my guest for tonight. Your Excellency, pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Let
me just get that your name again before. I know that it starts with something close to your English name.
Elifrim.
Elifrim. Yes,
okay.
Elifrim.
I shouldn't have started with that, by the way, because I thought that is for another day. But nonetheless, I think
you get the language small.
I think you're very smart.
You get the language small. The people of the Volta region are excited to have received you in the course of the week. You spoke brilliantly well. I was there in Keta with you, and then at the Keta Trade Fair that was held. Congratulations, that was a very good one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we're going to have a conversation generally on promoting trade beyond the borders of individual countries or African nations like Ghana, Kenya, which is going to be mainly the case studies that we would refer to. And then we will see how we can be able to grow ourselves from our states, our townships, because Ambassador and I saw a lot happening in Keta in the course of the week, and the potentials in those regions. How do we move from there to the other regions? If you say East Africa, for instance, if you say to South Africa, how do we grow ourselves from Keta all the way to that place? How do we grow ourselves from Agogo, Asamankesi, all the way to the other countries? That's going to be our discourse. Now, can we have some of the Keta, what had transpired in Keta, and we'll have a conversation around that pretty shortly. And then listen to a few comments that we had from there as well, from Togbe and the team all the way in Keta. But how did you find your tour around there, though?
Exciting, absolutely. And I think it was my first real outing out of Accra since our arrival in January this year. And therefore, it gave me a good opportunity to just have a lay of the land. And clearly, when you are told about the Volta region, what you hear and what you see, there is a lot of resonance. And therefore, the potential that you're talking about, both in terms of agriculture, in terms of, investment in tourism, value addition, including the education and ICT and all manner of things. They are real. They are real. And obviously, you can see the enthusiasm among the society, the community, the citizens of that region, particularly during the exhibition. Clearly, you can see the products they are coming up with, very innovative. And I think they just need to be scaled up for them to be able to reach out to the global market beyond that very localized environment.
So where and where were you able to see in the Volta region, aside Keta itself? Did you get a chance to go to other places, other towns in the region?
Foremost, it was exciting to cross the bridge of the Volta River, something that we were reading in school in geography. And of course, when you talked about the Akosombo Dam, one has to see it to appreciate the magnitude and the scope. And to me, I think it was exciting. We had the opportunity to meet with the chief of the region. We were very much welcome to the region. Obviously, we had also opportunity to visit, I am told, the highest habitat point in West Africa, Gema, Mount Gema, which essentially means the global mission evangelical, high up there. And very exciting. Finally, we went to a community, which I think is very good, that is taking care of a monkey sanctuary. And clearly you can see the effort they are making towards the ecosystem and growing tourism and the initiative they are having. Beside, of course, having a business forum in Ho itself with the industry. I visited several universities, the University of Ho, then of course the University of Medical and Allied Sciences. I had the industry, one of them which is doing some great and amazing stuff, is converting cassava into alcohol.
Yeah.
Over and above, of course, our women folk are not left behind. I had the opportunity to meet with an entrepreneur who is doing, motor vehicle repair.
Motor vehicle repair?
Motor vehicle repair and spray.
I see. Where was this?
Within itself, within Ho itself.
Within Ho?
Ho itself.
Okay.
And it was amazing that you have this very determined,
yeah,
fairly young lady, and she wasn't worried about how the overall looks like or what she will end up being at the end of the day,
yeah,
but you can see the determination, and I think that is the kind of thing and examples that we want to see all the time.
Yeah.
We have a winery.
Yeah.
In Ho itself,
very
getting wine from coffee, getting wine from cocoa, getting wine from all manner of things,
yeah,
and clearly you can see that there is a lot of innovation around that, which is something we need to support.
Yeah. I'm going to refer to that event, the trade fair we had in Keta shortly, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Can we get that on the screens now?
Building a port, it is not a 1 year affair. Building a port is not a 5-year affair. Building a port is not a 10-year affair. Building a port is not a 20-year affair. Now I've created a bigger problem for myself. Now, why am I saying this? A port, you cannot finish building a port. Anytime you have a cluster that becomes important, you add to it.
Uzapara gojia mala bonyani ka unkune mi aduma toreko aka mi aho yaru so gogola ba meli zapa tutua menya kaka fa do wonyew na otivo ayena naga anyabo ga ka kireja uga ka garaji yanya ba takuradi ha boy ko tu fagara vai ha uga ka kamraji tama ta otu uga ka kamraji ayata Ajimanga la mi afu be mi ekpekple gakpoko ma re kokumi aglobe o ma azahabo gomu aba fi fẹ na wunua mi azasharo kpoge afike mi atamo ayi aba bi enu ata arumi aglobe office ekpo na aba mi kpoga fi fa na wunu eye khoro mi zaga mi anya be wo ze dogoma.
You have the vision that you're founding, our founding father, the Kwame Nkrumah had in putting up the Volta rig, the dam, is something that we cherish, is a resource that not many countries have, and I doubt whether there is any that equals Ghana in terms of that capability. You are a seaborne country that borders international ocean. You have 200 nautical miles. I'm sure we have mathematicians here that can tell the span of what that means. That land could be bigger than the land territory of Ghana as is today. A land, an opportunity, a resource that we may not be probably, but I have seen the port here, and of course the additional shippers, so they must know that we have a huge resource there. And therefore that combined provides us with great opportunity that should be able to take care of all our employment needs, of all our resource requirements. But I will be coming to that because I think we need to interrogate ourselves and ask the question, why are we where we are, and yet we have this resource that not many have forward together. So the coming of the African Free Continental Trade Area.
Okay, so we're back. That's what happened in Keta, in the Volta region in the course of the week. We had the DEFIA 2020, that's a trade fair for the Keta municipality that brought a lot of products together brought a lot of innovation, a lot of items, people who were engaged in a number of good stuff in the Volta region together to sell themselves, market themselves, showcase what they've got in that municipality, and even beyond that. Unfortunately, our guest tonight was there. He was actually the guest of honor, His Excellency Eliphas Mugengi Barin, Kenya's High Commissioner to Ghana. And he shared quite a number of interesting information that you would enjoy, because definitely we are going to talk about some of them here. Your Excellency, I noticed that you have grabbed your name proper.
Yes.
The name, it was actually given to you by the Toby who just spoke. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, if you also listen to it carefully, the initial soundbite that came was the director of the Keta port who spoke to them and told them and assured them that the port of Keta, a lot has been done to bring it to fruition. Feasibility studies has already commenced. It commenced actually in the second quarter of 2020. That was in June somewhere about, and then it should be finishing by the end of the first quarter of 2021. And so the people should take heart and continue to be patient and see the professionals undertake their good job, and hopefully a port definitely will come to the people of Keta. Your Excellency, with reference to a port in Keta or in the Volta region,
yes,
you have quite experience with Mombasa port in Nairobi, for instance. To what extent would that, in your view, would that be able to help all these potentials that you recount, for instance, from that region?
Thank you very much. First of all, allow me to detour a little bit from this conversation and begin by expressing our deep condolences to the President of the Republic of Ghana, to the Ghanaian and the family of the late President, His Excellency Jerry Rawlings, a great Pan-Africanist, a great Ghanaian, a great leader, a leader that brought about democracy into this country and is the founding father of the Fourth Republic. So coming too soon after the loss of his mother, of course, is a tragedy, is deep. So we truly condole with the family, and ours is to send best wishes and wish that God will stand with the family at this difficult hour, and they will pull through, difficult as it is. So really accept very sincere condolences from the government and the people of Kenya during this difficult time. We are together on this. Is unfortunate, but again, is a journey. I'm reminded that each one of us at some point will have to take. Coming back to the port, I think it's to appreciate really the role and the functions of the port. If we have to be efficient, if we have to be competitive, if we have to move high volumes of goods and services, if you look at statistics in terms of global trade, a lot of trade is actually seaborne. And therefore, when you have efficient ports, then what you're doing is you'll be able to be attractive, you'll be able to cut the cost of doing business, and you'll also be able to open up in terms of skills, employment, and of course, many other factors come into play. Ports is a huge resource in many ways, and it holds very many businesses and individuals, the clearing agents, the transporters, the importers, the customs, the shippers, maintenance, repair. So it's a whole industry in itself. And I think as a continent, we need to continue to strengthen and to build on those capabilities. We are where we are, and we must appreciate, I think, as a continent, we have very many ports everywhere. Not to mean that we have reached there, but I think with what we have, we should be able to catalyze and be able to support the industry as it one. You'll also appreciate the port does not operate alone. So we need allied support institutions and infrastructure. You're talking about the railways, you're talking about the roads, you'll be talking about energy. So it's a combination of all that. The port that we are putting up at Keta, I think when I look at the plans, great plans, and I want to encourage that we continue them. You have very clear timelines. You could already tell the enthusiasm from the citizens, and of course we're asking, when is the port opening and coming?
Yeah.
And you can see that in itself, I'm sure, part of it is driven by many interests.
Yeah.
Some of them is because they have goods that they must ship. Instead of having to track them all the way from there to Port of Tema, you shorten the journey. To others is to open offices around there and begin to do business.
Yeah.
To others is to open restaurants and hotels and accommodation places because you have a lot of business around there. And they are clearing agents. So is a whole, of course, there are those that are in support service, the insurance, the banking, all that. So really, when you look at a port is much bigger than really the institution itself and the vessels that ply in and out into that.
You look at your observation of that region and all the potentials that you outline that is emerging from there. What do you think that we ought to be doing to prepare such areas, such places of our various countries ahead of trading amongst ourselves as a continent?
The interesting thing is the goods that we produce in the continent somehow are primary in nature. They are agriculture based, they are natural resources, and when you look at the whole continent, a lot of it is really anchored around that. But the next thing that we need to do is begin to add value to those products and commodities.
Okay.
So that we not shipping and doing trade with primary commodities which do not bring as much value and are not as well paying as we should be paying our citizens, and therefore we need really to find mechanisms and ways, including investors that are coming to invest here, so that the products that are leaving our shores are finished goods that are able to bring value that is commensurate with the kind of work and the vision that we have.
It means that we ought to be having some of these industries, manufacturings that ought to convert some of the things that we saw, for instance, exhibited into that finished or value-added product before we can truly maximize the potentials that those offer.
You are very right. You are very right, because we have tried it before. We have been dealing with primary commodities, and I don't think we have been able to elevate our people from, well, relative
the basics,
poverty, really. And therefore, it cannot be any other way around it.
Industrialize.
We just have to industrialize. We must have to add value to the goods and products that we are producing, and a lot of it, really, because that is what you hear other regions saying, that we're exporting jobs. So that cocoa will leave the shores, coffee will leave the shores, and everything that is produced around there and come back packed, finished products at a very high cost. If we can put our act together, and I would want to encourage the investors, the private sector in particular, to put their hands together and be able to add value at the village level in our own countries, we will be able to get to where we want to be, because we are where we are, and Africa does not want. I particularly am not very keen to see that we continue this way. I would want us to get to where the Vision 2063 is desires to get the people of the continent.
Let's reference your own home country.
Yes.
What is Kenya doing in terms of this? Do you see Kenya equally embedded in this whole primary products kind of thing, or you have been able to edge up to industrialize and adding value to most of your primary products, and then prepare yourself to be able to sell those secondary products outside?
It's a journey. We are not there. We have a plan. In fact, when we look at our development agenda, we have something that we call the Vision 2030. That speaks about where we
2030.
Want 2030, which is a 20-year plan. Of course, is about 10 years to 2030 now. But the whole idea was to be able to bring Kenya to what we call the middle income economy. I know we are there, but at the bottom. But then we have been able to segregate and to pick what we think will quickly be able to get us to that point. And we have what we're calling now the Big Four agenda. The Big Four agenda are areas that we think we need to invest put in a lot of investment into for it to, obtain the necessary to bring us to the level that we want. One of the item in the big four agenda is healthcare. So that we are saying we need to have access to universal healthcare for all citizens, because a healthy population is a healthy nation. The second one is manufacturing, and it's not by chance, because we have looked at it and said we have been producers of coffee, tea, and many other products, wood and timber, scrap metal, and many other things. But what we have been doing is a lot of it has actually been living in primary form, including cotton. So what we are now doing is to encourage the private sector, including investment, to come into the country and begin to add value to that. So we have a number of things that we produce, and we are on course. One of the things the government has taken deliberate steps to revive is the cotton industry. The cotton industry. And we have revived 4 or 5 textile industries that had actually collapsed completely. And one of it is the slogan, buy Kenya, build Kenya goods. So if you buy made in Kenya, you actually build in Kenya. And I think that
people complying, citizens of Kenya complying?
Is an effort, is an ongoing effort, and everybody is being encouraged that we need to support that. And also what we are saying, we need to see, particularly in terms of procurement in government, the government procurement must have a component of 30 to 40% of locally produced products.
Beautiful.
So that in itself is an encouragement to the industry.
It's a deliberate policy put in place
by the government that on all procurement, particularly on goods that are available in the country, 30 to 40% must be Kenyan produced.
This applies to all products or just the cotton industry?
All products, including furniture.
So government procurement, 30 to 40% ought to be Kenyan made?
Kenyan made, particularly goods that are available in the country. Yes.
Do you suggest that should be the way to go, particularly now that the entire continent is heading towards trading among ourselves, that countries themselves have deliberate policies such as this, or even edge it up to say 50% of your government procurement ought to be locally produced stuff?
I think
or will be forcing people to take what they don't want?
It's not really forcing people. I think also because sometimes is how you package this. You know, if you are producing goods of quality and good standards, then there should be no difficulties. But again, what we're saying is we want to encourage, including investors, to come in and be able to produce. And when they produce, there is also supportive environment that is the market. So that you are not bringing in your investment and there is no market. So we're saying there is already a market of up to 30–40% within the country.
I see.
The citizens are encouraged, certainly in an open, what we call a liberalized market. You may not really be able to push everybody to get into it, but I think we better realize that that is what will get us to where we want to be. So it is good to encourage that we all really are there and hit the call that we support our own so that we can be able to build our own economy.
And beyond the government policy for government agencies procuring the locally produced or manufactured products, is that something for the general market, the general citizens as well? The beyond the government agencies. So are people given certain incentives for consuming locally produced products? Is there a policy towards that direction from Kenya?
Not quite, because locally produced products to a very large extent also are much more cost effective. And
cost effective?
Yes, they are cheap.
Rather?
Actually, they are quite cheap. They are much cheaper than that. And of course, we're talking about, for example, if you're talking about furniture, depending on where you're sourcing, you can look at that in terms of longevity. And we're saying if you're buying furniture from the local community there, you're building your own community. And secondly, the producer is actually the private sector. It is not the government. So we are mutually supporting each other. And if you're saying we need to build the private sector, then the private sector across board need to come and join hands so that we can be able to support each other and build ourselves. Yeah. It is to build ourselves.
Because here, though, there are instances where you hear a lot of people say some of the products that are produced locally are rather expensive than some of the imported ones. To what extent do you think policy can help us bridge this gap, ensure that locally produced products are not excessively expensive as against those that are imported? And again, the argument is that the ones that are produced here are of very high quality. For instance, if you take chocolate, for instance, the chocolate that is produced here has a lot of cocoa. Virtually everything is cocoa, but elsewhere you would have other products added to it, small flavor of cocoa here and there. And so obviously you can expect some low level of quality or something like that. But people, you know, they out of taste and the fact that the thing is coming from a foreign land may want to go for that, and also out of the fact that it's cheaper. Do you think there should be an effort that would necessarily make the imported ones, whether they have better value added or not, be less or more expensive than the local ones?
You know, how
Kenya,
expensive or how cheap it is, to me, is relative.
Okay.
Is relative to what? You have begun by talking about the quality. So if you're talking about, for example, the textile, and you're buying textile, say, for example, from, and you have many of them, I don't want to say the GTC or the Woodin or any other, vis-a-vis products that are imported from other sources, which are really not cotton in nature. Some of it, of course, including the second-hand stuff, you have really to make up your mind as to which is which. And of course, we are struggling because when you look at the source market, a lot of those things are subsidized, which we do not have the resources to do. But for us to be able, again, to build our own, we must really support our own initiatives. Because nobody in this continent, nobody outside of this continent will build this continent.
Yeah.
So it is good that we support our own, do what we need to do, but again, of course, as you're saying, whether we can begin to, put up barriers, tariff or non-tariff, I don't think that's the way, because we are in a global ecosystem. We must adhere with the rules that are being set up, rules that we have agreed to adhere with, but importantly, I think, is to really begin to socialize our people, to begin to build their own, because this continent, this country is ours, this continent is ours. Not many people, nobody else from out there will come and help us build this country.
Yeah.
So I think it's a question of having a conversation and having to tune the mind of the citizens of this continent that indeed, if we want to get to where we want to be, I think we must make some sacrifices.
And do you see our countries, yours and mine, preparing towards this direction? Are we making such sacrifices?
I think we are, because when you look at the economic incentives that are being put in place, when you look at the policy shift, for example, in my country, if you are competing on a project or on a tender, and you have what you call locally manufactured or local input, you already have 20-30% mark ahead of the one that is importing. So that in itself, at the end of the day, even if yours is a bit expensive, you end up earning more points than the person that is importing wholly. So there is a policy dimension to it, and of course we have seen a lot of support that the governments are doing to support the industry, because we all realize for us to be able to create the jobs that we need, for us to be able to build the wealth that we require, it is important that all of us be able to support the programs that we have started and industrialize. There are not too many ways to create wealth other than having to industrialize, and that is what the rest of the world has done.
If you would want to, and in the course of the week, we met a very fine gentleman, Dela, who is the AGI chairman in the OT region as well as the Volta region. The Association of Ghana Industries doing tremendously well to encourage its members to continue to produce to a certain level of quality, so that products can be able to go beyond the shores of our countries. If you would want to advise per what you saw that's been produced, that's been exhibited, in the Volta region, plus many more that I'm sure that you have identified in the country since you arrived, what would that advice be?
I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to have programs that will be able to reach out to the producers, be able to do some training so that we are working on the products, we're working on standards, we're working on quality, because somewhere along the way we need to really build capacity of the producers. And I think this is where the institutions come into play.
Yeah.
And in particular the private sector institutions. The AGI, for example, or any other, need to begin to reach out to the citizens out there, members or otherwise. They can begin a recruitment process, but we need to begin to organize, because a lot of producers out there, they are really producing in a very, very small scale.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we help them to get organized, to organize themselves, to be able to put enough commodity together.
And how do we do that though?
Part of it is actually organization. So we need, in our own country, we have cooperatives.
Okay.
And every member really is a cooperative. So if we organize those individuals that are producing, depending on what sector they are in, and organize them that way, they will be able to bring their wares together. You'll be able to sort them out, determine which meets the quality. And since you're doing that, you can also begin to train so that they understand that this is the quality that is needed. You can warehouse them, you can market as a group product. But when you're doing it individually, of course, it becomes difficult even to satisfy, even to reach the market, even to find the market itself.
Yeah.
So you need to get, I think we need to begin to organize people into groups, into cooperatives, put them together so that we can assemble enough wares or whatever that they're producing, may it be either the kentes or any other product, so that you have enough quantity for it to be able to get to the market. And that way, of course, I know there are intermediaries between that are doing that. You may continue to work with the intermediaries. Other people prefer to call them brokers. Is not a line that we can eliminate completely. But if we are able to build the society, organize them into a group, they should be able to put their resources together and be able to produce the quantity that is required for it really to reach the end user.
Yeah.
So institutions are important,
yeah.
And the private sector really need to take advantage of this and lead the discussion around that.
Let me acknowledge Delag Gajanku, the AGI chairperson of the Volta region and the OT region as well. Very fine gentleman, very resourceful gentleman, doing remarkable work within the space where he operates there in the Volta and OT region, as far as the industries, mobilizing the industries in that area is concerned. Let me also say that you may join the conversation. You have something to share, you have knowledge to share as far as our countries, African countries are concerned, how to grow ourselves, be independent as far as aid is concerned, and be able to trade among ourselves as a continent. You may want to share your comment with us. Then the WhatsApp number is 0559019177. The number that you can phone in at the appropriate time when the phone lines are open is 0205528353. The number should be on your screen. Your Excellency, let me find out. Yes. It appears that Africa is quite similar. The African countries, we have a lot of similarities. Yeah. So the greens are there, the rusts are there, and you talk about the greens, we're all doing a lot of vegetations. We have crops that we can market among ourselves. You talk about the rust, we have a lot of mineral resources here and there. Gold is found here, gold is found somewhere else. Bauxite is here, bauxite is somewhere else. Diamond is here, diamond is elsewhere. As we seek to trade among ourselves and having all these similarities, originally, if you are trading among yourselves, you want to look at where you are competitive and then edge it up and then be able to trade there. But if you have that similarity and I still want to sell to you who has almost the same things that I have, how do we ensure that we stand different and unique enough to be able to take advantages of the market, the various markets that we have?
Whereas it is true that a lot of commodities are really similar.
So you may have cotton, and Burkina Faso has a lot of cotton, and we have probably cocoa, and Abidjan has a lot of cocoa.
That's right.
So how do we be able to still go to Burkina and trade from Kenya, and how do we be able to go to Abidjan and trade when we have similar agreements?
That's what I'm saying. A lot of those goods, commodities and natural resources could be similar, but there is one country that has what we call the advantage over comparative advantage. For example, this country with cocoa and Côte d'Ivoire, there is scope for cooperation and collaboration that we can decide to invest. And I'm not sure whether we have really come to that, whereby you're investing, putting in resources, both in form of private sector and coming up with an infrastructure that is globally competitive, that is able to produce to the level that we are saying. This can actually go compete. The product out of that investment can compete beyond the continent and reach out to the rest of the world. So what we need to do is actually sit down and agree on who has what and how do we synergize each other, so that we are not doing same thing everywhere, and we spread ourselves so thin until really we are not making a mark. I think we have to be deliberate. That look here, we're no longer looking at the colonial boundaries and says, you are from this country and the other. I think what this framework is bringing about is to try and get us off the boundaries that were done some years back and say, you have this whole continent that is available to yourself. You have people with resources, both citizens of this continent, that can pull those resources together and invest. And I think that is the essence of the ACFTA, that you can get Kenyans and Ghanaians and any other citizens in the continent to pool their resources and put up a plant or an institution that should be able to add value to the commodity and resource that is available wherever it is for the African market and for the global market. So really, if you have cotton, say for example, we have the 5 Cs, the 5 cotton countries, Burkina and other places. I'm not sure whether we have harnessed to the level that was required, and we should be able to have Kenyans or any citizens from the continent working with the people from those countries to put in resources, enough resources to be able to do, I would say, a factory that will come up with globally competitive products that everybody will be looking at. But if we limit ourselves to our own locality and to our own nation boundaries and of course our own regions, we may not really be able to do that. When you're talking about this country, the gold, the diamond, the bauxite, for example, I think instead of having a motor vehicle plant in 40 African or 50 African countries, I think the investors that are coming into that may also actually sit and ask, where do we have this resource? And if they come to the conclusion that this resource is in Ghana, then I would probably be of the opinion that they need to structure a vehicle that will be able to invest into that and be able to come up with product that will be able to supply the whole of this continent. Sometime, yes, you may also want to vary that a little different and say, look here, you have this product there, and we have the products that will be able to feed into this, so that you are not having everything produced in one location, because you may not have certain products in this. So including if it is a motor vehicle, for example, there are certain things that may not be produced here, and you can collaborate depending on where you have the comparative advantage, but pull together. So I think it's a question of having to sit down and ask ourselves, how do we need to move forward, and how do we build trust? How do we pool resources to be able to develop to that within the continent?
Do you see that without a strong manufacturing base that will give us diverse value-added products, so that Kenya has cotton, Burkina has cotton, but there is that strong manufacturing base that is converting the cotton into something as fine as what you are wearing, and Burkina has something that is converting the cotton into some fine batakari or something like that. If we don't build that strong manufacturing base, we'll end up competing among ourselves with those primary products instead of seeing what we can get out of the primary products and take advantage of each other.
Absolutely. And we have done that. For the
Have
last,
we?
I think we have been competing.
Yes, with the primary, yes. So we have cotton. I also have cocoa. I have that. Those are the bases and primary stuff.
I think time has come for us to collaborate. Really. The message is there is opportunity to collaborate, and we'll be better off if we were to put our heads together and begin to work together. I'm saying this, and I've been speaking to a number of people and saying, perhaps what we may not have is institutions that are able to provide the platform for the private sector to sit around. And I've been urging, and perhaps that is our first mission, and one of the things that we must go through.
Providing the
platform. And we're saying
for private
one
sector
of the things that we need to do is link up the AGI, for example, and any other voluntary private sector to our institution, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Now, once we bring those two bodies together, they will be able to say, our membership is looking for this. Our membership has this capability. How do we begin to link X and Y, and how do we bring them to have a conversation? Out of that conversation, it is easier. Why is it important to go through the institution? Because they are self-assuring that if you have been referred by an institution, then you have been validated, and on the other side it gives some degree of confidence that you're dealing with someone who is of standing. And you are not now going out looking for and asking around who is into this and the other. We already have people that are lined up and saying, our membership has this number of people looking or doing business in this line. And they're looking for investors, people to work with on this side. So it becomes very easy to link them up. And we just need to set one single meeting. They will either fly on the other side. In fact, they don't even need to fly. We just need to set up an online conversation. And since they have been brought up by this institution organization, these institutions now becomes more or less like the bridge. And it will be much easier to get these people to begin to work together. In as far as we all embrace and as far as we are committed to this agenda of the ACFTA.
And do you see that that platform is being created for that conversation to be had? We
are working on that. That is actually,
but do you see it? Because I don't see it.
Absolutely.
Do you see it?
It will happen.
Do you see an engagement or a platform being put together by either by a private sector or in any institution that is bringing all these folks and these ideas together now?
Very enthusiastic, I can tell you. I've had conversation with the AGI. I will be meeting with the chamber on the other side before my departure from Kenya. That is the message I came. Sadly, of course, when we arrived, I think there was COVID, and we haven't really been able to do much. But the private sector institutions are very keen to begin to work with their counterparts, and that's the way, because governments have done what they need to do. If there are agreements have been signed. If it is ACFTA, the ACFTA has been concluded.
The will has been shown.
Government of Ghana has provided all the facilitation. The secretariat is up and running. So really, and of course, governments don't do business. So all this is being done in order to provide an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive and to do business. And what we in government should do is build this bridge between the private sector institutions on this other side and the institution on this other side, so that we can have a conversation. And that is something that we are committed to do. I am very optimistic it will happen.
Okay. Has Kenya rectified, though? I know.
Yes, it was a photo finish. Between we are not sure, but what I know,
you're not sure.
I'm not sure who ratified first.
Okay.
Because it was on the same date during the morning hours, but luckily Ghana was the first and Kenya was second to sign and ratify and deposit the instruments with the with the AU. So we did it on the same day, same morning.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's good. And the course of the week.
And I'm happy the same day, and I'm happy now the secretariat has is located in Ghana. A country has demonstrated very great enthusiasm to have this on and running.
Yeah. In the course of the week when we were in Keta, and I heard about the Nigeria one that the Parliament of Nigeria has sort of shown that commitment to ratify, and I think they have, or we are to get from them very shortly if they are ratifying. But with the ratification and the numbers of countries, member states that are ratifying increasing, going beyond 30s and hoping that we'll have a lot of them ratify, do you see the kind of commitment that you see, say, in Ghana or Kenya across board?
I think so, because 54 member countries have signed.
No, but ratified.
The process that is ongoing, and that could be as a result because sometimes is a constitution a requirement that it goes through other processes, parliamentary process and so on and so forth. Sometimes it may take a little bit of time, sometimes it may not. But of course, now it is already in force. So trade will commence. And of course, I would really urge that if we believe in ourselves and the African that we are, and if Africa will be built by the Africans themselves, it would be a good thing that every member really joins this and ratifies so that we can move process. But these are sovereign decisions. Countries will come on board, but the beauty about it is there is a threshold. The threshold has already been met, and therefore nothing will hold really making progress around the CFTA, because we met the threshold and the train has actually left. The train has left.
I hear that in the next week or two or so, the ministers of trade and all of that from member states will be arriving in Ghana for a conference, a major conference. From that policy level, from that government level, what would you want to see put out there in terms of us talking about even encouraging the private sector and bridging the gap for them and all of that? From such meetings and with few weeks into commencement of the entire trading platform, what would you expect to come out?
One is a message to the citizens of Africa that trading under the ACFTA will commence on 1st of January 2021. I think the ministers will reaffirm that. That will be endorsed by the heads of states, a meeting that will follow shortly, and which was supposed to have been held in South Africa, but I'm told now because of course of the COVID resurge, it will now be virtual. But it is true that many decisions have been made even without physical really meetings, and therefore with the technology that we have, decisions should be able to be made and strong messages should come out and say, look here, Africa is ready for business, and Africa will start trading on the 1st of January 2021. So the ministers will come here. There are some documentations that need to be finalized. Of course, this creates a huge single market. There are issues that have yet to be finalized, that talks about the rules of origin, and is an ongoing conversation. In fact, this is probably the fastest agreement that has been negotiated, barely 2.5 years or barely 3 years, and therefore there is enthusiasm. The message is the ministers will come here, they will agree, and they have agreed on many other, because as we speak now, officials are already having conversation, and some of the critical ones are the customs, just to make sure that they are in sync, and the customs in one border in the other border, they speak the same language, they understand the document, and their business is to facilitate that goods coming from one country to the next will not attract any duty, and they should be facilitated. So we should not expect the NTBs whereby people are held unduly, and but of course there are issues of standardization, the most difficult one, and I'm sure it should be addressed, and this one require the support of everybody. It is the question of the rule of origin, so that we don't have goods that are traded in the continent presumably made in Africa but are sourced from elsewhere. that in itself will undermine the spirit, the intention of the ACFTA. So I think that is where really the issues are, but shortly the officials are meeting. We are hoping that that should be overcome before in due course. That is one of the sticking points, and I think once the rules of origin are fully agreed about, then implementation becomes a bit easier. So that, to me, is the biggest challenge that we will have. And I am hoping, really, that we will not have goods that are not produced in Africa being, sold around and marketed under this framework.
And benefiting under the framework.
Under this framework. Of course, the ACFTA does not say that it does not lock out anyone else from trading in Africa. The only thing is, if your goods are products of the continent, then they should be able to find market within the continent without attracting duty, unlike products that are sourced from other source quarters.
Your observation of, look, what do we have in Ghana, and this one direct between Ghana and Kenya,
yes.
What do you think could be some of the immediate engagement that we can have? Kenya and Ghana, what can we tap? What can you tap, and what can we tap from your country?
From Ghana, of course, there's a lot of textile, and I see a lot of that going to Kenya. There is the cocoa that you have. There is gold that you find coming from this end. There's shea butter, which is extremely popular, and people are getting a lot of that. And of course, you have other soft products, in terms, because it talks about investment and everything else. In the hospitality, you can talk about tourism, you can talk about entertainment, you can talk about culture, you can talk about ICT products, and so on and so forth. So there is enough room to begin to have a serious conversation between ourselves. Products that would probably come and easily come from Kenya, you have the tea, you have the coffee, you have beef and you have meat and meat products, you have, of course, including tourism, investment coming into this market, ICT platforms, and an exchange of a whole range of things, including in the education sector. I think there's so much that we can exchange. So we're talking about a beginning, and that is where we want really the private sector institution to begin a conversation, so that we get to see the needs on that side and the real needs. Because if you speak to the private sector, they say, this is what I'm actually looking at. But if you speak to, say, for example, someone in an office, will tell you, this is what I have read, and this is what I have picked, that the needs of this and the other, they may not necessarily be real. So we want the practitioners, the wearers of the shoes, to be able to identify, and will be able to really be able to say, on this one, this is what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for someone to move products or to source products from this to the other end. Once we begin that conversation, to begin with, the items could be small, but incrementally they will get to where we want to be.
It appears you have a very buoyant airline industry, do you?
Yes, the airline industry, Kenya Airways, the pride of Africa.
The pride of Africa?
The pride of Africa. It still has its wing up the sky. The airline industry is becoming difficult. Of course, now with very little movement. But the airline is up and running. It's not making money. Like most of the airlines, you'll be surprised. It's a very competitive, it's a very delicate industry.
But how are you sustaining it?
It's beyond business, because I think it's a very important industry for Kenya. To be able to support Nairobi as a hub, and to be able to really bring people and goods and services together.
So government intervention.
To us, there's government intervention into it. And of course, it supports us a lot in terms of our horticulture, because we will not be able to thrive in horticulture, the cut flower and all those other things, which find their market into the European market on a daily basis if you don't have a reliable airline. So it's an airline that we cherish a great deal. And so like the West Africans, in fact, when I speak to West Africans, I think they hold Kenya Airways with very high esteem.
Yeah.
And I think is an area that the African continent needs to look into and actually have a conversation as to whether we need an airline in every country, or we can resource and plug in and build big airlines that will be competitive and will be able to serve the continent better. I think that's a conversation really that is out there, and I would encourage the investors, because again, like I'll say, Kenya Airways is really a private, so to speak, although government has invested in it, but you can buy shares into it, and there is room for investors to invest in that, so that if we are talking about building a formidable airline that will be able to serve the continent and beyond to the expectations of the citizens, I think is one of the areas that we should be looking at.
Yeah. What about a shipping line? You don't have a shipping line, do you?
We're establishing. Yes.
You have plans for that?
No, we used to have.
Yeah.
And we are reviving.
You are reviving that?
Yes, we are reviving.
We used to have that a long time ago as well, but...
Yes. Now, in the last 2 years, government is putting in money. We have decided that we need a shipping line.
Invest in a shipping line?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
How well is the Mombasa port doing?
Mombasa port is doing well because of the hinterland. It has a huge hinterland that serves all the way to DR Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania itself, part of Tanzania. And I want to believe beyond.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of investment that has gone into it, including dredging, so that you have capability to receive ships that have huge tonnage.
Yeah.
A lot of work has gone into that in the last 10 or so years. It's a modern port. What has happened is we have also brought in all the other players that support the port, including one-stop shop, so to speak, for the region. And now, if you have goods that are going to the neighboring countries, you clear your goods in Mombasa, you make all your payments in Mombasa. And you have officers from countries, say for example, Uganda or Rwanda or Burundi, sitting at the port of Mombasa.
Interesting. So
and doing their business from there. So you don't have really to go. All that you need to do is have a very elaborate tracking system.
So you've gotten officials from, say, customs officials from your neighboring countries, yes, within the East and Central Africa, in the Mombasa port.
In Mombasa, provided offices, running their own offices, and where you have joint meetings on a regular basis with the port players, just to make sure that the issues that are coming up are picked and
resolved within there
immediately.
Okay.
So we have cut a lot of our bureaucracy, and we have cut a lot of timelines in terms of clearing goods either on transit or otherwise. And those, even when we get to the border points, we have managed to put up what we call the one-stop border posts.
Okay.
And that one border post is you have all the players in that, including from both sides. So it's actually one. When you get to the border, you have an immigration, you have a custom officer from this country and Kenya, for example, on the same desk. So you stamp the papers here, stamp the papers, and then you move.
And obviously,
so in terms of time, there's very little time that is actually lost on the way.
I see. And obviously, the vision is to position yourself as a hub within the Eastern Central bloc.
But also really honor our international obligations, because as a coastal or maritime country, we have international obligations to provide services and efficient services to
the hinterlands, the landlocked nations, and all that.
But importantly also, I think I should add this, that we are linking the port to the railway.
To where?
To the railway line.
The railway line?
The railway line.
Yeah.
We have done the first leg, and we are continuing with what we call the standard gauge.
Yeah.
We have moved from the 1 meter to the standard gauge.
The narrow gauge.
And therefore, if you have goods going to beyond Mombasa, you don't need to go to Mombasa, because every cargo arriving is put on truck and shipped inland. So you clear, for example, it's about 100 kilometers from Mombasa, a place we call Naivasha. So you're cutting about 700 kilometers from Mombasa. You don't need to go to Mombasa. If your cargo is containerized, it will be brought there. Then you clear from there. But if you're in Uganda, for example, you can clear and all your goods are brought all the way by railway to Uganda. So you don't have, and a lot of this is no physical really contact. Everything is online.
I see. And these standard gauge rail lines are already built?
It's already built.
And you started using them?
Yes.
So you cart the goods. So goods that are transiting from Mombasa to, say, Uganda,
yes.
they just get to the port, and without any interactions or whatsoever, you get them on the rail lines and then straight to Uganda?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, that is what we've been talking about. That one, since the bill of lading talks about the destination.
Yeah.
If it is Uganda, then you don't need to have somebody travel all the way to Uganda. The destination is already known. And all payments have been done online. Everything that needs to be done has been cleared. And since it is going by train, then the final verification is done at its destination.
Destination. Yeah. So that's the example of what the picture you are painting is like Ghana. Now we constructing that kind of rail line all the way to Ouagadougou.
Yes.
That is in Burkina Faso.
Yes.
And we've got plans for an inland port somewhere around Kumasi. So the idea is once the transit cargo gets into the port in Tema, on the rail line straight to, let's say, the inland port, and then straight to Ouagadougou without any interference, any human intervention or interference in between, and then it goes straight to the final destination. That will be Ouaga or Niamey, say, in Niger.
Yes, so that you don't have really, say, for example, a clearing agent having to leave Ouagadougou to have an office, including in Tema or any other place.
I see.
All this is done online.
And this has started in
Nairobi,
in Kenya already.
This is working.
This is working.
This is working.
It would be nice to have a visual outlook of how it's taking place for others to see. And what's the results, or what results are you getting out of this? What's the outcome?
It's efficiency. It's efficiency, so that you don't have, and of course you have cut a lot of people from the port.
Okay.
In fact, nowadays, for you to go to the port, really, initially you find everybody and trucks everywhere. But also, the important thing is it has also reduced the damage to the road infrastructure. Of course, you know, those that had invested in trucks and otherwise,
money will be lost, and some jobs will also be
some jobs have
sacrificed.
Actually, yes, some have been sacrificed. But we're saying, first of all, we don't have the road carnage that we used to have. A lot of accidents and trucks and
you have statistics to prove that with the presence of the
next time we meet, yes, I'll come with the statistics.
Okay.
Yes.
No, but there are evidences like that to that effect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Including the damage to the road.
I see.
So that you don't have trucks that are plying all the way. Sometimes trucks that are really overloaded or otherwise, and now that has been cut.
I see.
Yep.
I'm going to go for a quick break, and when I come, I will read out some of your comments that you have shared with us. If you're interested in the conversation, we're taking a look at how to promote trade beyond the borders of our individual countries like Kenya or Ghana, or how to grow your product all the way from the down there. So the shrimps that we saw in Kenya, in Keta, for instance, the fishes, the diamond fish and things, how do we move them beyond where they are in Keta, even beyond Ghana, and then be able to get into the neighboring market and all of that, to be able to grow ourselves and trade among ourselves effectively. My guest in the studio is His Excellency Eliphas as well. That's the name he was given, Mugenji Barin. The middle name is Mugenji or Mugengi?
Mugendi.
Okay. Yeah. He's the Kenya's High Commissioner to Ghana. Very passionate about trade and working among ourselves and integrating among ourselves as a people of this continent. We'll return pretty shortly. The number that you can share with us your comments is 055-901-9177 is a WhatsApp line. The phone line is 020-552-8353. We'll return shortly.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Gold Super XP Run 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Gold Super XP Run 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Gold Super XP Run 95 gives you a smooth driving experience that is less vibrations. Fill up with Gold Super XP Run 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
We really want to know what Kenya has to offer. Thank you, Ambassador, for coming. Okay, so you can also share yours with us, 0559019177. The number that you can call is 020-552-8353 if you have any question for His Excellency, the Ambassador. We will be glad to take that. This one says, hello, Sami. He has explained enough about the Mombasa port. He should tell us about some of the challenges facing the transit trade. That is Sheikh Labaran from the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. So do you have any challenges as far as engaging in this transit business? Now you say the rail line is helping very well. You are able to connect, even efficiency has improved and all of that. But are there some challenges? That's what Sheikh wants to know.
In everything there are challenges. One of it really is to get the business community on board. The business community on board. And there are those that were used to really a lot of interaction in the port. And with human interaction, a lot of things happen. You know, there are those that will knock doors, there are those that will open doors, there are those that will do other things. So there's that, in that environment, of course, there's been a little bit of a challenge. But the bigger challenge is actually with the people that had invested in the track system.
Yeah.
And since the railway has taken a little bit of that business, and not just because it's a policy, because in terms of moving goods, a container, for example, from Mombasa to Nairobi, it costed $1,000. With the railway, it is $500.
So 50%. That's about 50% reduction in cost.
50%.
I see.
And of course, we are not looking at the cost of which we are talking about, the damage to the road,
yeah,
and the accidents that have occurred. Since the standard gauge rail, of course, we used to have the meter gauge railway that has been running,
yeah,
but which took a bit of time to get to Nairobi. Now we have a standard gauge, which takes 4 hours. Between a distance of about 500 kilometers. We have not had a single accident, and we pray that it remains that way.
Yeah.
So even in terms of collateral, really we have that. The next thing is, of course, businesses have suffered because when we had everybody with an office around the port, either doing clearing or visiting or for whatever reasons. So, you know, in terms of including those that have invested in hotels, those that have office space, those that have the taxis and whatever else, has suffered a little bit. Yeah. And of course the jobs in terms of, you know, there were those that were maintenance of trucks, loading, unloading, all those services have suffered a little bit, a great deal. So there's a bit of challenge in terms of providing alternative jobs. But I think what is coming out is we need to begin now to develop new businesses for the port. And one of the things that is being done is to provide a facility for liners.
Liners?
You know, these are the liners. And we have already invested sufficiently. We are servicing a number of them. Certainly, once you have suffered a misfortune, it takes time before really people begin. And when you look at the east coast of Africa, we had very severe piracy issues.
Yes.
Very severe piracy issues until, of course, the cost of doing business and everybody more or less like said, we are not operating within that region. Until that time, we also took very deliberate decision that we felt that we need to tackle the piracy together with the global community, and now that has been brought to bear. So now part of that is to begin now to build facilities that will be able to take, and we have seen a number of them that have come on board. They are not enough, and of course is and promoting of tourism and other sectors, including manufacturing itself. So those are some of the areas that are being encouraged. It could take a little bit of time, but the challenges are real because a number of people have lost jobs.
That's what I want you to pitch on. So what policy alternatives did you put in place to cater for the jobs that will be lost when you undertook that major investment?
One is...
and has it worked?
It is work in progress because when we're talking about the standard railway line is about 4 or so years, so it's a new...
Okay, 4 or so years.
It's 4 years, so it's relatively new. But what we have done is to elevate what we call the Bandari College. Bandari is Kiswahili word for port.
Okay.
So the Port College, to be able to provide new areas of training in shipbuilding, and we are working very hard to find partners that can be able to bring their ships and vessels for repairs. I don't want to speak much about this, but the optics are looking good.
Okay.
We also training for people that can serve in that industry.
Yeah.
You know, so because you know, part of it is also tourism and stuff, and we are training around hospitality and so on and so forth. Partly also is to encourage investment in form of what we say value addition and industry around Mombasa itself. And again, we are hoping we should be able to put back Mombasa to where it has always been in terms of tourism, because Mombasa really the hub is a tourism hub.
Okay.
Obviously, because of the challenges in the region, as you might appreciate, we've been having challenges with Al-Shabaab that we have invested very, very heavily. Not anymore, of course, but again, once you have an incident that is not favorable, you find it takes time before it really fades away.
Yeah.
But obviously, also what has been, you know, a drawback is the COVID-19. So, you know, there's no movement, there's no tourists that are traveling anywhere. And you can imagine where you don't have business for a year, what it means to the industry.
Yeah.
So the industry has suffered a great deal,
yeah.
and that's what we are here.
Is language a problem within your block? Because you sit in the middle trying to be the hub, and you have all the other, your neighbors there, Uganda and the rest. Is language a problem? From where we are, West Africa, Ghana, for instance, surrounded by this Francophone, and you and I, back some time, had a conversation about how we've been lazy in learning the French. Do you have that similar challenges around there?
We are fortunate in the region. We are fortunate.
You share common language?
Yes, because we have Kiswahili.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which cuts across the block.
Which cuts across, actually, not just within the region. Right? Kiswahili is spoken all the way to Southern Africa.
Yeah,
it may not be as eloquently spoken, but you find very many.
Understand yourselves.
You can understand ourselves. But in the region, East Africa, Kiswahili is really the lingua franca, so to speak, or the business language. So language is not really a problem. But the beauty about it also, I think part of East Africa is Anglophone.
Yeah.
Really, other than going to Congo, the rest of them, of course, Rwanda used to be Francophone or is now bilingual, is both English and French. Burundi, very good Kiswahili speakers, English speakers, French speakers. So really, in terms of language, it's not really a big thing. It's not.
Very deep man. We can clearly understand him. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador. Good evening, Sami. This is Odum Kojo. Good topic for discussion, but please, when are you bringing the leadership of GPHA unions to the platform, Kojo Ashaban? Well, leadership of GPHA union, always welcome. You can always speak to my bosses, the General Manager, Marketing and Corporate Affairs, and then definitely, we can have a discuss. Let me pick international news, and when we return, we'll summarize with His Excellency the Ambassador.
Chinese rescue and salvage company Lianyu Gang Dali Underwater Engineering has won a contract to remove the stern section of the Wakashu bulker from a reef off Mauritius coast. According to the owner of the ill-fated bulker, Nagashiki Shipping Company, the salvage firm is currently mobilizing assets and equipment and is scheduled to start work on the removal operation in late December, and work is expected to complete in the spring of 2021. It will be recalled that the Japanese Cape-size bulker ran aground on a reef off Mauritius on 25th July, and the vessel broke apart on August 15, causing a major fuel spill. Around 1,000 tons of oil are estimated to have leaked from the wreck in what is considered the worst oil spill in the history of Mauritius. On 7th November 2020, DRAD Global confirmed an attack on the chemical product tanker Tom Alexandra, operated by Danish shipping company Tom. According to DRAD Global, the incident saw pirates boarding the 56,643 cubic meters Tom Alexandra, some 162 nautical miles south of Cotonou, Benin, while in transit from Lomé, Togo, in the Gulf of Guinea. Following anti-piracy drills, all crew, comprised of 20 Filipinos and 1 Montenegrin, reached the citadel and have been reported safe. In a related development, less than 24 hours following the boarding of Tom Alexandra, the oil tanker Wesley, controlled by UK's Union Maritime, was also targeted by pirates in a separate incident off the coast of West Africa. DRAD Global reported that the Marshall Islands flagged tanker MT Wesley was approached while underway 180 nautical miles south-southwest off Lagos, Nigeria. The master of Wesley undertook all security measures, and all the crew took shelter in the citadel. Armed guards on board the 1995-built tanker fired 3 shots at the speedboat, after which the pirates aborted the approach. The vessel and the seafarers on board are reported safe, and the tanker is continuing on its next port of call. Shipbuilder SWS, part of China State Shipbuilding Corporation, has started a dry dock works for the first cruise ship ordered by CSSC Carnival Cruise Shipping Limited, a joint venture between CSSC and cruise company Carnival Corporation. The new unit, which is expected to be delivered in 2023, will accommodate about 4,250 passengers in addition to 1,400 crew members. It will be the first cruise ship built in China for the Chinese market. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has said in a new report that global maritime trade will plunge in 2020 due to the unprecedented disruption caused by COVID-19. The report, entitled A Review of Maritime Transport 2020, warns that new waves of the pandemic that further disrupt supply chains and economies might cause a steeper decline in the short term. UNCTAD said the sector will need to brace itself for change, adapt, and ensure it is well prepared to enter the post-COVID-19 pandemic world.
Okay, welcome, Ambassador, to Ghana. We appreciate you and we appreciate all the insightful discussions you are having. This one says, is Mombasa port operating passenger ship? If yes, how effective is it? So with all the tourism that's going on in Kenya, you have a cruise liner that's carrying passengers in and out.
Momentarily, we just have a few that have made stopover.
Okay. So it's not regular?
It's not regular. We are investing in that area to ensure. And of course, what we're doing is talking very intensely with our partners that are running these.
Is it a lucrative area? Or is it an area that can be tapped? It has a strong potential, because your country has a very strong tourism base. So if as at yet that has not been that regular, is it an area you would advise that the continent itself begin to look at?
You see, major operators of cruise really are not from the continent.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
so
elsewhere.
Caribbeans, Philippines.
And therefore, you just need to continue to partner with them, to talk to the operators, to consider Africa or, for example, Mombasa as one of their destinations. What that brings is great value, because a vessel brings in 500 passengers, for example, or even 800. But beyond the passengers themselves, you have the team that is servicing the cruise. So every cruise has about between 1,000 and 1,500. Okay. So you can imagine a stopover of a week of 1,500 or 2,000 passengers that arrive on a particular day and spend a week in your city.
Yeah.
And these are people that have been in sea. So they actually want to interact with nature and the environment.
Yeah.
So in terms of accommodation, in terms of safaris tours, so to speak, in terms of even walking around the cities and the curios and interacting with them. So there's a lot of business that really run around there.
Yeah.
So if it were possible, and we're hoping that we can get regular, regularity of these, cruises, it will bring a lot of benefit, because also it provides other services. When it docks, it needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of,
the handling services within the
handling
port.
services. There's cleaning, there's maintenance, there is, of course, what you call supply. So, you have the fresh supplies into the vessel. So there's a lot of business that comes with the cruise. And therefore, it is something that we are working on, and we are providing what we're calling actually global standards that will help us bring that. Yeah.
Let's end on skills development, because with all the things that we are talking about, with the hope to begin to build a strong manufacturing base and all of that, it requires strong skills, human resource and all of that. This country has begun big time in serious automobile industry. Nigeria had a Peugeot, had a VW and all of that industry. We are all going to move towards a certain direction. Do you see that we are developing our skills enough as a continent?
In an industry, you have three components. The first, you have to have quality staff, you have to have a quality product, and you have to have a quality investment. From our experience, because we come from a fairly poor natural resource country, we may not pride ourselves with gold or any meaningful, really. Of course, I will be reminded that we have oil, but it's oil that has not really been explored to the potential. And, looking at all these parameters is something out there. But we have been able to build our economy around services. And services requires manpower. And therefore, this is an area that I think we need to continue to partner with. Okay. There are areas, particularly if you want to build, a tourism industry, we need really to begin to work together and see how we can help each other to bring in the services that are to the level that is required. I'm not saying that Kenya is there, but we are saying within the continent, we can start from where we are.
Yeah.
Because we can build together and work together.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the insurance industry, it will speak to banking industry, it will require like maintenance and motor vehicle. All those will require institutions to be able, and that is where we need the academia now I think to begin to engage with the industry and ask what are the needs of the industry and how do we link the academics with the industry. I think that conversation is ripe, if it is not late, and we need to bring the two to be able to begin to work, and so that as we are training for a particular need, and we are imparting skills that are required, that are beneficial to the industry.
I've had about 2 guests here in the past 2 consecutive weeks, and that aspect has come up. First was the immediate past president of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, and we talked about this, academia and industry.
Yes.
From where you are coming, is that connection flowing as you want to see, and do you see that happening here or across Africa as well?
We have started a journey, for example,
academia industry,
yes, so that for example, the Chandaria industry has invested at Kenyatta University, what we call incubation centers. You have the Kenya KEPSA, Kenya Private Sector Alliance, that is engaged, for which the academia is part of the KEPSA itself. And the industry has opened up and said, if you have, so that you have students coming in to be able to interact with the industry, including an exchange program between the university and the industry. Okay. And the industry is actually also going to the university and the institution to begin to teach and explain what their requirements are. So it's a journey that has started, and we're hoping that we can sustain this.
Thank you, Your Excellency. His Excellency Eliphas Elikplim, which is a new name that he's got. Mugengi Barin, there's a Kenya's High Commissioner to this country, Ghana. We appreciate your time. We've been talking and having conversation on promoting trade beyond individual countries, that's Ghana, Kenya, or wherever, to trading among ourselves in that bigger market picture that we are supposed to be seeing beginning next year. We hope that you were able to pick a thing or two. We'll be back same time next week, God willing. Thank you for watching the program, and thanks a lot to the executive producers of the program, Mrs. A.C. Suderberg and Mrs. Esther Jebidonko.